lab testing in rural areas. Well, there aren't a lot of labs. It means a lot of windshield times. Well, YouCount may have a solution to help that problem. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about what YouCount does and what this device I was holding does?
Sure. What it allows you to do is measure your biomarkers at home. There's a wealth of information in your body about creatinine, leukocytes, nitrites, and this is all available in your urine. So you can do a simple 2-minute urine test. You can dip one of these reagent strips inside, and this will let you know what's happening. So your kidney health, if you are pregnant and you're concerned about preeclampsia or gestational diabetes, liver care, that sort of thing.
And it looks fairly easy. I mean, and that's the idea, right?
That's right. So we want to make this consumer friendly. It's the quality of a laboratory test, but it's done in your home.
Now, these have been out there in terms of the testing for a while, and you're testing the remote monitoring right now, you said, with patients in Alabama.
That's right. We're working with prenatal patients in Alabama doing a trial, and it's going well. And so one of these units is in their home, and they're able to monitor their pregnancy through albumin and creatinine.
Have you been able to measure whether people are more likely to use this as opposed to going to lab, missing appointments, and that sort of thing?
We haven't measured that, but we know that especially right now with COVID, people are really interested in staying home. And it's more important when you think about remote communities. If someone has to travel 2-3 hours to a laboratory one way, it's an entire day. They can't work or they can't do various things. This is a 2-minute test at home, so it's kind of a game changer.
So what is the hurdle between where you are today and getting it to the mass market?
There is no hurdle other than we have to go through the FDA regulatory process. We're 2 years in, and we're making some great progress, but there's still more testing to do right now.
Another application, though, we talked about the idea of local medical clinics, senior homes, and so forth as a possible near-term application.
Yeah, one of the really interesting applications is in old age homes, hydration. That is, how much water patients have in their body is important to measure. Elderly patients, sometimes they don't keep track of how much they drink in terms of water. Sometimes they swear that they've drunk a lot, but in fact, they are dehydrated. And it's a leading cause for hospital admissions, and it can cause a lot of body complications. This is such a simple 2-minute test, and you can find out if they're hydrated.
Now, what's the business model for this? Will insurance companies pay for it? Will individuals? Is there other models?
Sure. The main model we have is as follows. There are new codes called CPT codes that allow doctors or their staff, like nurse practitioners, to bill by reading the results. So the patient can do the test and the results go up to the cloud and either to the EMR or to the software that they have in their office. And every time they review the results and say, okay, they're okay this week, they can bill for that.
And that kind of gives them an incentive to do a lot of testing, it sounds like.
As long as it's medically necessary. I mean, they prescribe it as they need.
But that could be a good thing long term, because if you can regularly test, then you know if your pattern is, right?
That's probably, I'm glad you asked, that might be one of the more exciting parts about our product. When you do lab testing, they tend to be one-offs and the information tends to get scattered. This keeps it all in one place, and it actually shows you beautiful graphs over time of how you've done over the months and years, if you will. So it can do that.
And that's one thing I've found is access to information from the labs just really isn't that easy. So is there some kind of portal for the patient with this?
We haven't got that ready yet, but just as the data goes up to the cloud and to the doctor, we could make an app so that if the doctor releases the results, the patients can then use the app. Of course, they can review all their results directly on the machine. They're all stored on the machine.
Excellent. Well, this is exciting. It looks like there's all kinds of opportunities in rural and probably urban markets as well.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, and good luck.